Hello and welcome back to On the House. Today we are joined by Georgi Furnadzhiev. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Georgi. CEO of Signalbase. So yeah, welcome, Georgi. Before um, you joined Signalbase, you spent a year at TGS, the Growth Syndicate. Um, how was that experience for you? What were some of the big highlights? What were some of the big lessons you learned there?
Yeah, so first thing first, it's actually a year and a half, so almost 2 years. Life changing, completely life changing, simply because the founders gave a chance to this 22 years old, fourth year graduate in marketing entrepreneurship to have the keys towards the growth function, right? So it was very good for character building too, because you can imagine you just graduated uni, like obviously you have some experience behind your back in leading growth at multiple startups, but then you have someone who actually sold companies and help, 200 based marketing teams or like teams that have 200 people plus, and led those teams successfully towards exit to be pretty much, I'll say, on top of me, but that wasn't really the dynamic. Like we were all equal, for which I'm forever grateful to the guys. But it was great for character building, and it helped me to realize how to properly build a go-to-market engine in the new era of, yeah, SaaS as a whole, and now AI and whatnot. So there were a lot of lessons along the way, both big and small, but I would say the biggest one is knowing what kind of people are in the room with you. So in short, Yulin, who is the one of the co-founders, told me the following. So there are two types of founders. You already have the operational people or the very much visionary people. So I'm very visionary myself, and I'm very fortunate to have operation driven people and co-founders within Signalbase. But it was hard to be in a room where opinions collapse and you're pretty much the bridge between everything. You have to talk in one way to one of the founders that is very ambitious, and you need to put his vision down on paper. But then on the other side, you need to help the operations driven founders to broaden up their scope, think more about the impact. So I think that was one of the most important things. And there's so much more that I learned within being a good state, like doing good stakeholder management. And another part of that was also the ability for me to say no to particular efforts, right? Because whenever you have a visionary founder, they want things tomorrow, but they're like, out of scope, or they're not so important today to drive revenue. So the ability for, in general, any go-to-market executives or leaders, CEO, whatever, to say no sometimes it's can help you go 10 times further. So I would say this was very interesting. And then I would say that every team needs a pace setter, because it's very, very, again, like it depends on the type of people that are in your team, but it's very easy for your team to get stuck in what they're doing within the day to day and not take a step back. So I feel like within the organizations and the modern organizations that are scaling further in this era, you need someone who said, okay, let's push the gas on the pedal, right? And go and execute some cool stuff. Let's put our heads down. But on the other side is being able to take a step back and analyze the full picture. And last two things, maybe I'm talking way too much, but community is a very powerful driver for growth, and unifying people with the same needs to share their problems within the very high end, meaning executives, just dropping all of the boundaries around work and just chatting about their struggles as a human. That's very, very powerful, and I'll advise every, yeah, vendor or business to create a community around their go-to-market motion or around their brand. And lastly, it's very important to surround yourselves with tier A players, because you just feel the energy and the understanding in the room is through the roof, right? That things are moving faster, people are improving what's already there, and it's just easier to, yeah, build a proper company.
Yeah, I love that. And it sounds like yeah, you're a visionary as well, but because you were working with a visionary founder, it kind of meant that you had to kind of switch into the ops priorities kind of mode, and that's kind of made you kind of well-rounded and balanced. And then I you mentioned about community as well. I just want to dig a little bit deeper before we move on to Signal Base, because you guys really had a lot of success with community and running events. What what do you think the secret or secrets were there? Um, and what were some of the benefits uh, that helped TGS kind of grow as a business? Because events isn't what they do. That was just kind of part of their growth machine. So yeah, just a little bit more there would be super interesting.
Yeah, for sure. So because I designed the whole community from the ground up, I think there were some fundamental choices that needed to be done. And this is what I've been preaching ever since I started approaching community building. So we need to make a fundamental choice in a sense of, are we building for volume or are we building for quality? There is a massive difference simply because I feel like with the conference that are out there, and you have probably experienced it, Joe, like we met on a few conferences, but you cannot be in a room where you have someone junior that is talking to a CMO. This doesn't just go naturally, and this is what also damages the whole reputation of the event itself, right? So what we said fundamentally from day one, we only are going to make a business about C-level executives that wants to talk with other C-level executives, and they want to clear all of the BS that is out there on LinkedIn or any other platforms. So when they join at our events, they can be themselves, they can have a drink with other very very senior people, and this is what ultimately served as incredible word of mouth engine, right, for organic growth. And by the way, we had 80% of, if not even 90% of the growth that we did was organic, and then 10% was simply pushing thought leadership ads based on posts that someone from the community would share. So let's say that me and you go to an event, right? You make a post about the event, and then I would push your post to other ICP like accounts. And we just did that at scale. So we engineered UGC, in that case, user generated content, and then use it to promote the word about what we do and how we do it. And when you see someone that is so senior promoting you, game changer. Once you crack the C-level executive network, you're already there. Now you just need to keep on showing up and keep on doing cool stuff. So I feel like the quality of people in the room and the diversification of the format. We were the first one in the Netherlands to create roundtable meetups, and that was so eye-opening. It was so eye-opening to a sense where our biggest competitors. So first thing first, we outperform our biggest competitors. By the way, it was Pavilion. I'm not shying away from saying it, but we absolutely destroyed them in the first 2 quarters when it comes to growth. And you can see that within the link, the amount of people that's saying, hey, I'm a Pavilion member, hey, I'm a TGS member, right? Then they switched their whole strategy to land and expand, which we fundamentally said that we are not going to do, because that means that you are onboarding other people that are not heads of marketing or heads of growth within your community, and you're polluting the whole experience of having only marketing people. So niching down, right? And then where I was going with that is, well, it works so well, and we keep on pushing these roundtable topics that at some point we were like, okay, we might as well create a conference, and from there it evolved further online. So just to sum it up, the level of the people in the room and the diversification of formats, I think that's it. And the whole core principle, lastly, this is the last thing that I'm going to share, was to focus on actionable insights. So to each one of the speakers at the meetups, I told them, hey, I want you to talk and I want you to educate the people to such degree that by the time they leave the meetup on the next day, they go with a piece of paper to their CEO and be like, hey, Mr. Or Mrs. CEO, here's what we are going to do today based on what I just learned from TGS. Oh, what is TGS? Well, it's this community for marketing teams, yada yada. Cool. Do you want to loop in the entire marketing team? This is the type of level of insights that we seek and we try to provide. So this is essence.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and I love your strategy around kind of going after like the pillar accounts, because I can imagine if you just start reaching out to everybody, you're going to get a lot of no's, and then next, when you start to get the the pillars, then obviously you've got to go back to the no's. Whereas if you can really just focus on who are the core people that are connected with all the other C suites, so that's really cool. And then what? Again, I'm just super interested in how in what you guys did. So what were the actual benefits to TGS for running like a bigger event? Was there like an ROI in it, or? Are you making money off the event, or is it more that it's all of the, you know, all of the network effects that you get downstream that are going to help pay that back?
Mm. In full transparency, there was a little bit of ROI element in it, but the focus was not purely that. And the ROI was given more to the original business model of the company, which is deploying fractional talent. So that was a little bit, but it's not, it wasn't like the main driver why we really wanted to do that at first. And that was the idea of the one of the co-founders, Ferdinand Goods. And he said, hey guys, we really need to push our and to put our flag initially on the Dutch ground and say, hey guys, we're here, right? And go with the network effects. So I feel like with the conference, we managed to do exactly that. And you could clearly see that simply because my LinkedIn was booming for the 2 weeks afterwards with, hey, this is what I learned from TGS Con. Here is why you need to do that. And whenever we made a post around, hey, should we do it next year too? People were just going ham in the comments. So I feel like we managed to create such a great environment for people to connect and actually learn from one another that just keep on helping with the distribution of what TGS did and how we did it and whatnot, which of course benefited me to position myself as, hey, I'm not actually, I'm someone that you can trust, right? Because I know what I'm talking about despite my young age. So yeah, that helps me significantly to also position myself as, hey, I'm someone that is understanding how the gold market works and marketing as a whole and getting that brand out. So yeah, I'll keep it as it is.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, I think that's one of the things from your content as well. Is like I trusted you before I knew, like started to respect you as an expert, and I don't mean that in negative light. I mean because your content is so trustworthy, and there's a lot of like video heavy, and that's just the effect that video has. And then obviously the more time that I've got to know you, I'm like, oh, this guy really knows his stuff. But yes, I
Yeah.
imagine that that's helped a lot as well. And then um, moving on then. So you're obviously the CEO at Signalbase now. There's a bunch of founders that you're working with. You're based in Thailand right now. How did all of this come to be? How long have you guys been going for? Just a little background origin story would be great.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll just start with the original story of Signalbase, right? Because I think that's a unique story in a sense that I'm joining as a co-founder and CEO of a product that has been on the market for 4 months, right? And this was something at first when I announced it on LinkedIn was weird because, hey, you just joined, but you have HubSpot, WorkRamp, and all of these crazy big companies already using you. Like, how did that even happen, right? So with the video that I posted about me going to Thailand, I just tried to explain the whole thing. But in essence, here's what happened. So a few months before the TGS Con, I was leading the whole TGS community project, right? And one of my current co-founders, Siron Brands, reach out to me because they happen to acquire already leads on trees, which is now Signalbase. And when he reached out, he just wanted to know my point of view as a friend, like, hey Georgie, what do you think? Is there a room to grow within targeting go-to-market engineers or agencies? Or yeah, man, what do you think? And when I saw the product at first, I was like, you know what? This is a sick product. Simply because I already knew a little bit about signals a few years back. Long story short, I tried to build 3 ventures on my own, and I managed to succeed having 300 marketing teams and growth teams on my beta list simply because I use different outreach angles and they were all based on particular signals like followers of someone or perhaps certifications, which I'm going to talk a little bit more about if you want, of course, later. And from there, I just told him, hey, this is a sick product. I would love to work on something like this in the near future. I really miss being a founder. And something in that moment clicked. But I wasn't aware at that point that he was already looking for a main driver for that business because he's not particularly someone that understands go to market to that degree, right? And he said something within the lines of, hey, okay, whenever you're ready, reach out to me. Wait a second, what do you mean reach out to you? So a few days passed and I told him like, hey, I'm I'm not sure if I'm ready to move from TGS, but just let me know what you have in mind. So a few weeks afterwards, we met on this coffee and he pretty much pitched me the whole thing. And in that degree, I just resonated so much, and the offer was so great that I could not resist. And then we start working on the whole thing, right around it. And in full transparency, in order to make the move from TGS to Signalbase, I also need to pay rent, right? So the whole offer that we got is equity plus cash in order to help me continue with my life, based on the fact that I also need to help them with their own original business called Simple Analytics. So during the weekend, I'm working as their head of growth, and during the week, I'm just hustling as a CEO of Signalbase. So it's very interesting days for sure, and building everything from scratch. So this is pretty much how everything evolved. And right after the conference, the TGS founder said, "Okay, that was great, but for next year we want to do something different, and we feel like we really want to continue with the service wing, right?" And I was like, "Okay, that's perfect. No worries. I actually have an offer too, so let's see how that will go." And also, we saw that growing a community and monetizing it is a hell of a work, but with such a lean team, it's very hard to start monetizing it and scale it to a degree where Pavilion and the rest of the communities are. So in essence, this is what happened. Me and the founders are on a very good terms. It all felt very natural. And TGS is in fact going to still push events and have the whole community effect, and I'm there to support them as a ex first employee and whatnot, but it's not going to be paid, which actually is quite fun because then you have more people joining, and well, of course, having still that vetted access. So this is how everything came up, and then they pitched me the whole idea of, hey, do you want to go to Thailand because we need to rework the entire product. We're changing the positioning because currently Leads on Trees is positioned as a real-time VC database, and when I looked under the hood of the companies that are using it, huge GTM teams with 16 accounts already in, something just ringed and something just clicked ultimately. And based on that one, I decided to create a new version of Signalbase, which is ultimately being positioned as the ultimate intent layer. So sorry. So to be positioned as the ultimate live intent data on top of your GTM stack. And then we don't compete with Clay. We don't compete with any of the rest of the stack. But if you really want verified live data at scale that later on you layer your firmographics on, we're the place to be. And this thing works for already quite some people in and GTM agencies in order to build intent first lists rather than firmographic first, because that's initially how the market currently works, since 95% of your market is not ready to buy. But there are a few signals that can help you discover, okay, they at least are going to connect with me or jump on a call just to discover what I have, right? Because they're already in that position rather than being approached as a super cold account. So yeah, this is currently where we are, and I'm looking forward to sharing more.
Yeah, I love it. I love how positive as well, like your journey is. Like, you know, you made a massive impact at TGS. I know you did. I watched the journey, and then obviously, you know, having a great relationship with those guys still, and moving forward is great. So, um, so you mentioned that you're helping go-to-market teams. It's live intent data. Um, is it? Do you guys? Is it price based on credits, like players, or do you have what's kind of your subscription model? And and then obviously after that, what sort of intent signals are you looking at? Are they and which ones stand out? Which ones are kind of
Mm.
the ones that are really making a big impact at the moment?
Yeah. Well, let's start with the fact that every live intent signal can make a big impact because the market is still super in the very early stages. I mean, we already know what signals used to be, and you had all of these providers that said, hey, here are some ready to buy leads, but it's a fundamental problem of how older companies do not manage to evolve further down the line. And this is where we really want to make a difference with Signalbase by ultimately going where the market is and the new outbound motion and this and that. So I'll just start with that. Currently within the platform, we have M&A signals, meaning that if someone tries to get acquired, we will showcase a percentage of how far is the particular deal. So 30%, 50%, 80%, and 100%. So you know, okay, there are going to be some fundamental changes in there. And then we have funding signals, everything from pre-seed until Series C plus. So the type of signals that are in there are pretty much being scraped from the web. Then we verified it, and boom, we push it within the dashboard. Within the upcoming update, we're also adding job changes and hiring signals. So you can see when a new person get on board, from which company did he left, and then you can see whether there is an internal promotion as well, because that's also quite powerful and gives you an ability to pretty much foresee, okay, they might be changing tech stack, they might be looking to improve something, right? So this is where we at with the signals that we are looking to provide. And then next year we go crazy with agentic social listening and custom signals and scoring and whatnot. But first thing first, I want to focus on the fundamentals. So yeah, those signals.
Yeah, that's interesting. I spoke to Santos came on the pod a couple of weeks ago now, and he was talking about the future being like meta signals. So instead of having one big signal, you're feeding in a bunch of different things, and then the AI is just like looking at that. So yeah,
Correct.
it's like it's there is like a massive future here, isn't there? Like in terms of we're not at the end of signals. There's a whole kind of ceiling that we can punch through and
For
push
sure.
through.
Simply because what we also say, and I'm very honest of what we're building, Signalbase is just the beginning of your workflow. What you then need to do, and how the most cracked GTM engineers are using currently the platform, they build. So we provide signals of scale, right? Then you have the firmographics being given. So you have already a list with, let's say, 300 companies or something. You can create a lookalike alert for companies that race and fit your ISP. So that's great. But then what they'll do is that they'll push this data via webhooks to Clay, and then from Clay they put custom signal for the use case. Because let's be real, no use case is the same, and you might track custom signals in a different manner. So we just provide you the baseline, and then from there, in order to really hit the spot with your message, what you need to do is set custom criteria. And I'm quite honest about that. So it's not like it's a secret or something. Layering signals is very important, and the reason for that one is because not every signal is equal. So that's why ready to buy leads is a BS in my opinion as well.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. And are you are you okay to give us a quick demo of
Yeah, for sure.
the platform?
Okay, so all right, awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, what we are currently seeing on the screen is Leads on Trees, or the original version. The reason why I'm showing you this is because of the fact that you need to see also the upcoming one. But in essence, what you have is exactly what I mentioned. You find signals at scale about particular funding, right? And then you have them as soon as possible within our dashboard. Then, when you have all of these signals, you just layer the round that you have. So in order to find the type of companies that you really need, so let's go Series A, and then we go for US based market, and boom, there you go. Now you have 2.1K companies that fits that exact criteria. And if you try to create a lookalike alert, as simple as it is, you just build it from here, and then the rest follows as a email or Slack notification. You can also save it as a CSV in order to push it into your workflows, or already download it and pass it to your sales team. Or in case you do ABM, what you simply can do is download the CSV and push it to your LinkedIn Ad Manager. Cool. Very, very basic stuff. So here is what the new version looks like. And the major difference between this one and the previous version is the fact that now you have an advanced company profile, meaning that you can check all of the fundings that previously were there, all of the key decision makers, the headcount history, and all of the future signals that will occur with a particular profile, including the job roles, changes, and the hiring signals. On top of that, what we also provide now is the ability for you to create a list. So all you need to do is select the companies that you want, and then based on that one, save a list. So let's say Joe's list. You can write a description down, and you can see it's based on the funding signal currently. So you just save it, and there you go. Now you have a list for you to monitor. In case you want to push data what to the rest of your tech stack, you simply create a webhook, you enter an endpoint URL, etc., etc., and the rest follows. We're also introducing a few other custom integrations to HubSpot, so you can push data to your CRM, etc., etc. And yeah, that is in essence what we do and how we do it.
If you wanted to find people from Gifby, the first three results, would you find them in Signalbase, or would you webhook um, to somewhere like Play and find people there?
No, so there is a find company data button that I didn't showcase, but it gives you all of the contacts, including the LinkedIn profile, including the phone numbers and the role that they are. So you can go in and yeah, do your outreach and email as well.
Amazing. Are you guys dog fooding? Are you using this yourselves to find people?
Yeah, so there are a few plays that I'm actually doing based on that one. So what I have, sadly, I'm not sure if I can share it now because I'm in a different tab. But ultimately, what I do is that I find companies that are based that recently raised funding, right? And then from there, I save it as CSV, push it to Clay, make a custom Clay agent of, hey, how big are those teams, their sales teams particularly, and is there a founding BDR or head of sales that I need to target? That also is member of pavilion, let's say, because then you know, okay, he's definitely member of pavilion, meaning that he's always looking to learn, and it pushed from there. So this is just one of the main use cases that we have. Based on that one, I also do a little bit more manual outreach for early stage companies and try to look if they're hiring someone, simply because, again, I push that data into Clay simply because of the fact that we don't have it in Signalbase yet, but in the upcoming 2 weeks we will. So I'll save a lot of money on that side. And yeah, we go from there. There are particular way deeper levels to my social listening and go-to-market strategy. I'm happy to share all of the workflows, but yeah, I will just base it as it is for now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you guys, if you look on the curve, you guys are going after early innovators, right? People who want to get the like new tools in GTM. And so I love that idea of targeting people at Pavilion because they are investing in in GTM, and they're likely to also be the sorts of people that will invest in new tools and tech as well. So that's a good play.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um,
there are multiple things in there. You can also go after particular tool experts. So if someone is, I don't know, a Power expert, cool, perfectly fits my SP. And I think that's a very powerful use case for the rest of the companies out there. So this is one of the plays. And then wait a second, I have it here because I wrote it down. Yeah, mass outbound to GTM execs who follow someone that is relevant to your product. Most of the time you have these thought leadership leaders, right? And what you can do is either partner with them so they can promote your product, or you can go after their followers in case you feel like, okay, these are macro influencers and it won't work. Social listening when it comes to comparator posts or posts again from these guys, and then from there you go after job posts, and a few other things that you can do is um, someone leaving a negative review that is recent in G2 or something, so you can retarget them. And as I mentioned, certified ISP like accounts, meaning if they take a certification that is relevant to your workflow, you can just find that pretty quickly in Clay, or if you type site.linkedin and then the name of the certification, that's the hacky way around it. But yeah, there are unlimited plays that you can run.
Yeah, I like that. Another thing we were doing recently is doing lookalikes on closed one, and it's like, you know, they are the people your current customers or people you've closed are literally the people you should be like looking for patterns with. So yeah, it's so many plays. There's so many good plays. So what you mentioned earlier about not all signals are kind of created equally.
Mhm.
Which signals do you think we should wait more? Or do you think it depends on context? And then I guess heading into what sort of signals do you want to add to Signalbase in the future to get an edge over other intent based platforms?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So waiting signals, it really depends. I'm a marketer, so I can't say it, luckily. But no, I would say pricing page visit is a very interesting signal, especially if they go to your API docs and if you can track the domain that goes after there, you can match two and two and see, okay, this is where it goes. But it's more bottom of the funnel type of thing. But the thing is, even if like a company just do that, that doesn't mean that they're ready, right? So you still need to go around it. Perhaps they're just looking at it right now, trying to hire someone, so they're going to convert in 6 months' time when they finally hire someone. So then you put more weight on hiring, right? Or sometimes they have absolutely everything, but they need more budget, so funding is needed. So it really depends on the particular weight in that case, right? So sadly, and it's very, very individual. So you need to experiment with which signal has bigger weight for your own case. But I just want to give like the framework of, okay, maybe you want to treat them all equal to a degree, but social listening signals is also quite strong indicator of, hey, these guys needs it. Um, so yeah, I'll just stop it there with the weight of the signal. And then what we're currently trying to build, we have so many ideas, but I'm just trying to focus at the moment. As I mentioned, agentic social listening, meaning that we will be able to find relevant posts for you that are out there. They will happen. We will also happen to qualify the people that engage with that post and then give you that list to you, because that's a use case that I'm doing right now very manually, and it takes a lot of time. I need to constantly push within my Slack channel, my own chats, interesting posts that I need to check on daily, because that's how you do manual social listening. And this, by the way, is a practice that helped me go from 30 tickets for TGS Con to 200 tickets in September. So in June we had only 30, and in September we had 200, and none of that would have been would have been happening if I didn't do manual social listening based on the UGC loops that I engineered. So I think this is one of the things that we want to do. Website page yeah, previews. So in case you want to check for particular signals on particular page, we will be able to give you that. And then there are more stuff like custom scrapers and ICP scoring and all these things. But for that one, you need quite some data. So the scoring, I just had a conversation with one head of marketing that already asked me for it, is coming in 2026 Q4.
Cool. Yeah, and just a quick note on the demo as well. Like the Signal-based UI is such a massive improvement on leads on trees as well. It's so nice and easy to use.
Exactly.
So you guys been going a month. You're at $600 MRR. What's your where do you want to get to basically? 20, what are your goals? 2025, 2026, and
Mm.
what's obviously you talked about GTM plays and stuff like that already, but what's going to be like the one or two levers that are going to help you get there?
Yeah, good one. Can I actually answer the question before that? How are we different from the rest? Because I feel like I
Yeah,
didn't
just
cover it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
how are we different from the rest? Well, pretty much ease of use, right? So Clay is very heavy on the wallet, and you need to hire someone full time in order to manage that for you. Most of the go-to-market teams don't have that budget, or if they can save it, that would be great. So we're building a very intuitive interface, as you exactly mentioned. Like this is where we want to go. So number one, simplicity of the software. Number two, customization, meaning that you can use our API in a way that you don't even need to enter the interface, which is for very advanced users, which is the majority of our current users as well. So what they will do is that they will just get the API, and then they'll push it to Clay, and then in Clay source data from our API, for which, by the way, we're also looking to build native integration with Clay. So, it gets easier. And then lastly, live data. Apparently, not everyone can source live data as we. And when you check the documentation of platforms like Crunchbase, they do it on every 2 hours. They have a scraping window on every 2 hours. We do it 24/7. And then we push it straight into the dashboard. It's a very heavy on our scrapers, if I'm very honest. So we're very careful as well. But having live verified data is something very important. And the biggest difference between V1 and V2 is the fact that in V1 we only have one verification layer. In V2 we have three verification layers. So we have normal scraping based on the code that we did with the scrapers, right? Then we have LLM checks for more data points. So by the time a data point is discovered, then we have a few 100 or more sources to check for more data points to cross check. Once this is done, we also have a semi manual check, and only then a signal is pushed. So we're automating as much as possible at the moment, but this is the biggest difference. So all of these three things, to summarize it: ease of use, customization, live data.
Credits one is huge as well. Like you guys can go after kind of smaller, medium-sized businesses where Clay is, especially if you want to process like a lot of leads and you're spending, 10 credits per lead or however many, it
Yeah.
gets a bit unworkable. So,
Yeah, we're
um,
ultimately building for GTM agencies and fractionals as a primary use case because we know that they need access to live data. I personally need access to live data, right? As someone who also used to be in an agency in order to support my clients, like I get it, I totally do. And then secondary use case is in-house go-to-market teams that want to run more of an ABM approach, so less in volume but more right accounts. And we'll actually have a third use case for which I'm also quite open about. And this is we're also selling our APIs to other platforms. I can't name a few of the platforms that we're in conversations at the moment because they're quite well known. But this use case also enables us to scale further and support some of the partners that we have in the field or competitors, whatever you want to call it, to also provide better data to their clients. So we're also quite open to that use case.
nice. Great. Let's do a quick fire round now. We'll
Sure.
just blast a few questions at you and try and answer it. So, who do you look up to in the GTM space?
Quite a few people, but recently the partners around Signalbase, so Matteo from the GTM engineering school, Adam from Clay Bootcamp, Mitchell Keller, who has been an incredible support for the platform. So he has his own agency, and then John Uzua from Reset as well. He has actually a few more agencies, but all of these guys that are talk about the practical side of running signal-based engines. So I'll say those guys.
Nice. And w- what's what hill are you willing to die on when it comes to signals?
Fighting firmographic base outbound.
Do you have any competitors? Is Bird Dog a direct competitor for you guys?
Yeah, but the main difference between us and them is that they're closed environment, we're open, meaning they've only focused on something that is in your pipeline, right? While we focus to put high quality accounts in your pipeline.
Yeah. It sounds like at the moment you personally you're going through a GTM engineering growth journey at the moment. Like you are learning quite a lot about that. What are there any resources that like you'd recommend to people to kind of learn if they're like one or two steps behind?
Good one. Ooh. Honestly, like I'm learning as I go. I think that's the biggest difference between tier A and B players. Like I always say that obviously there are people and people, but I feel like the more you experiment, the better it is. And I've been an advocate for this for a very long time. Before Signalbase, I barely touched Clay, if I'm very honest. Like I knew a few stuff. Right now, I'm using it with a very limited perspective, so I'm learning what's possible, what's not possible. But I think just try doing it as much as possible and try actually talking to people who are currently using it in order to learn what's possible and what not. I forgot to mention, by the way, the guys from Revenanas, Jack Kane and Dominicus, because they're the leads in of Clay in Amsterdam, and I've been chatting with them, like bouncing some ideas too. So yeah, just you don't need to always learn from the biggest names. You need to learn from the right names that are actually putting the work in, so they can tell you, okay, this is possible, this is not possible. Um, yeah, I think that's where we are at. And to also, because I haven't forgotten your question where we want to go 2026, 2025. 2025, my goal is to reach 10K MRR. I think it's very doable simply because of the fact that we are having already amazing partners. The product is working, so word of mouth is driving. And then POG, we're actually going to launch in December 1st our official POG motion. And in the upcoming weeks, we have our beta testing that we'll go over. So I think those two things and community is going to be the third one. And the reason for that one is because I still love events and I love chatting with people. So yeah, this is for Q4 2025. And then 2026, I know deep inside of me that it's possible to reach 1 million in ARR. So I'm going for 1 million in ARR. And even if I fail, I know at least I tried. We might end up at six maybe 600 or something, 600K, but it's still in the right direction. So keeping it ambitious.
Let's go. Yeah, it's better to it's better to shoot for the stars and land on the moon, isn't it? Right. So,
Exactly.
and final question as well. So you mentioned obviously you're working on a different startup on the weekend. You're working on Signalbase during the week. You're also learning Clay. So I imagine like you're a bit of a master when it comes to like time management. How are you managing all of this stuff and growing your skills at the same time? Like, do you have a framework that you use? How do you do that?
And no particular framework, just brutal prioritization. What I do is that said to myself every day, okay, what are the three things that you want to do, right? Because the more things you do, the worse it gets. Once you get those three things right, you are 100% further than where you were yesterday, right? So I just start from that one and I put in my brain just mental barriers on when to do what. And most of the time, the personal development comes by nature. It's being forced in a way because I need to find ways of how to better go to market. So it's if I can say how I'm dedicating my time at the moment, I would say 80% or okay, 75% we go into signal base. Then we have 15% into simple analytics to help them discover their ICP and all these things. And the use case is very different because with signal base we go from 10 to let's say 100, and with simple analytics we go from 100 to 1000, which is a totally different ball game. It's systems, it's everything. So yeah, it's fundamentally different, and that also helps me to refresh my brain to think in a different manner. But yeah, the whole goal is to scale signal base to such a degree that I actually don't need to work anymore for simple analytics. So hopefully Q1, and then we go from there. But yeah, the rest of the time I'm just learning on my own.
Nice. And where can people connect with you, follow you? Uh, and do Signalbase have a website? I did have a little search beforehand, but I couldn't see it on your profile. So I need to add that link in the description as well.
Yep, the new site is trysignalbase.com. So we finally launched it over the weekend, and you can check it out. There are a few case studies in there in case you're wondering, okay, are these guys legit or not? And you can have a preview of actually what the database looks like, right? So what type of information there is in there. And if you want to also see how we can discover the next fresh 5 opportunities that are intent driven, hit me up on LinkedIn or just book a call via the website. And yeah, exciting times. We're shipping fast, selling hard, and marketing even harder. I just launched a rapping video, by the way. So yeah, if you want to rap as well about GTM, hit me up.
A rap. Wait, you just sorry, you've just recorded a rap. When is this going live?
Oh, it's already live. It's on my account. I recorded it a few days back at 11 p.m. I just finished a demo with another head of marketing, and actually she's now moving into chief revenue officer. So that's why they were looking into data hygiene for their pipeline and whatnot. But yeah, I just got so inspired. I was like, you know what? I need to do something crazy. And by the way, this is my last tip around the growth syndicate. What I realized is that you really need to be able to blow people's yeah, shoes out of their yeah current seat or something like this. So in order to blow people away, you need a few things. You really need to do something creative, and this is what I'm trying to do with all the videos, like the event that we want to host, the launching party in Amsterdam, which is invite only, techno and whatnot. So super crazy stuff. But then also on top of that, because you cannot only rely on gimmicks, you also need the educational layer. So I'm also pushing that slowly and truly. And then we're also trying to have a podcast with a few other yeah experts in order to help zero teams build their first signal based engine. But yeah, I think that's what I also learned about how to go to market. So you need to be creative, you need to be different. And I feel like with the rapping video, I never seen people doing diss tracks on LinkedIn. So if you wanna have a laugh, just enjoy. Just watch it up and let me know if I need to record an official version of this at 11 p.m. in the evening.
You remind me of the purple cow. That Max Greenwald's another great example, which is and the bird dog guys as well. I think name escapes me, but the founder was like, I've chosen yellow because it is the most disgusting color and it just stands out. And I think you're And yeah, I think you're very much like that. Like, how can we be different? How can we be the purple cow? I've just looked. I can't find your rap, but I'll have to have a look afterwards.
Like
Um,
I can send you really quickly. Um, it should be there though.
I'll put that. I'm going to put that in the description as well. I have to do that. So,
Yeah, exactly.
awesome.
There you
Mate,
go.
it's fantastic. Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure today. And I'm just like really excited to see where you guys take this. Like, you guys are on a massive growth trajectory now, and it's just like, yeah, very excited to see what you guys do.
I appreciate you, man. And thanks a lot again for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to share the whole journey. And I hope that more people get inspired and really challenge themselves by betting on themselves because it's very easy. At least this is what I happen to also realize. It's very easy whenever you're working in house and you feel comfortable and you feel appreciated to not moving into your next chapter. So, again, like, I do appreciate my team at TGS and everything, but in order to reach my full potential, I just said that I need to bet on myself again. So if you're hesitant about that, just bet on yourself and see where it goes. It's going to pay off massively. Every time I initially bet on myself, it's resulted in 10x better outcome. So the more you try, the more you learn, the more you grow.